12th, at Greenfield Police Station in Wayne County, Michigan, a shocking incident unfolded that has left the community outraged. A 9-year-old boy named Samuel Carter wandered into the station after losing his way home from a nearby playground. Instead of receiving help, Samuel was subjected to excessive force by officers who misinterpreted his behavior. Witnesses describe Samuel as visibly nervous, clutching a baseball glove as he entered the lobby. Several officers on duty grew suspicious, claiming his sudden movements suggested he might be hiding something dangerous. One officer insisted Samuel was attempting to strike them. Acting on those suspicions, the group restrained him with unnecessary aggression. Samuel was shoved against a desk, leaving him with bruises on his arms and a cut on his forehead. Terrified and overwhelmed, he fainted in front of the officers. Minutes later, his mother, Vanessa Carter, an African-American resident of Greenfield, rushed into the station after being told her son was missing. She found Samuel unconscious, limp in her arms. Vanessa's anguished cries echoed through the station, her sobs capturing the raw pain of a mother watching her child.
Shalom. First and foremost, I give all the praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Machat Kodash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles of the great millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching this word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning. And unto the Ba'ath, the Dabadah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. This is going to be the book of Luke, chapter 23, starting at verse 27. And this is the time when they were persecuting Yahweh Shai. You know, when they chose to free a murderer over an innocent man. So Luke 23 and 27. And there followed him a great company of people and of women, which also bewailed and lamented him. Verse 28, but Yahweh Shai turning unto them said, daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. So, there you go. Weep for yourselves and for your children. And we're seeing that right here, right now. Okay? Being in captivity. You weep for yourselves and for your children. Why is that? Let's get the book of Lamentations. This is the book of Lamentations. It's going to be chapter 2, starting at verse 11. Mine eyes do fail with tears. My bowels are troubled. My liver is poured upon the earth for the destruction of the daughter of my people, because the children of the sucklings swoon in the streets of the city. Okay. In verse 12 it says, they say to their mothers, where is corn and wine? When they swooned as the wounded in the street of the city, when their soul was poured out into their mother's bosom. So, you know, just like, you know, back, today, you have Jake, mothers are bewailing their children because their children either end up getting, in really bad situations, end up dead in their mother's arms, hurt, kidnapped, so on and so forth. That's why Yahushua told, the daughters of Jerusalem, weep for yourselves and for your children, because look, we're in captivity. And we have to suffer these things. We have to, not just worry about ourselves, but also about our children, because our children are not safe. This right here is a primary example, and there's more of this to come. When Jacob's trouble pops off, a lot more parents are going to be bewailing their children. Okay, more and more bad things are going to happen to people's kids, and this is also part of the curses. This is why, as parents, man, you got to watch your kids. You gotta watch what they're doing, where they're going. Maintain constant communication with them, because we're living in a time where anything could happen. Yahweh Bashim Shai is visiting the world which He made, and anybody could catch this judgment. But this is also due to the curses. Let's get excuse me. Deuteronomy. This is going to be the book of Deuteronomy. Deuteronomy chapter 28, starting at verse 19. And it says, "Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out." So no matter where you go or what you're doing, you are cursed. We're still under these curses. Our captivity is not over. We're still here. Now dropping down to verse 41, Deuteronomy 28 and 41. "Thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they will go into captivity." So just like how the grown-ups are suffering in this captivity, the children are also going to suffer. Bad things are going to happen to the parents and to the other adults, and so are bad things going to happen to the kids. Okay? We're in enemy territory. This is our sworn enemy's kingdom. And as you all know, he has a perpetual hatred for us. Look at his centurions, which are the modern day police force. Look at what they did to look what they did to that little Jake. And I think if you look more into it, that little Jake kid was only like 11 years old. 1 year away from becoming a young man. Okay. Let me get Matthew chapter 2. It's going to be Matthew chapter 2, verse 18. It's the book of Matthew chapter 2, starting at verse 17 actually, and it says, then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremiah the prophet, saying, verse 18, "In Ramah was there a voice heard, lamentation, and weeping, and great mourning, Rachel weeping for her children, and would not be comforted because they are not." Because they are not, meaning that they are no longer alive, they're dead. And Rachel is just, Rachel just means the women, the mothers that have the children, They're not comforted because their kids are, unalived. And this is in the story where Herod was looking for, the Messiah, because he had been born due to prophecy. This is when Joseph and his wife Mary had fled to Egypt to get out of sight. And this also goes into Jeremiah 31, verse 15. Let me grab it real quick. Jeremiah 31 and 15. And it says, "Thus saith the Lord, a voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel weeping for her children, refused to be comforted for her children because they were not." Okay? So, again, we're in that time of sorrows, man, where women are going to be, where more and more women, especially you, Eve, are going to be lamenting the loss of your kids. Okay? Here in Jeremiah, this was so this is that time where we're going to be like I said, this is just the beginning of sorrows. So Be prepared for more and more mass unaliving and much more to come. Okay, because we don't know, we don't know how truly bad next year is going to be, but we just know that through the Spirit, it's going to get bad. There's going to be more judgment. All we got to do is hope and pray that we're not going to be a part of it. All right, and I'm going to finish off with this. This is Job chapter 5, verse 3. It says, I have seen the foolish taking root, but suddenly I curse his habitation. Verse 4. Job 5 and 4, it says, his children are far from safety, and they are crushed in the gate, neither is there any to deliver them. So, living without wisdom and integrity, and having ultimately the fear of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, this is an end result. Okay? It's not just for the grown-ups, but it's also for the kids. Because if your kids don't have that instruction from their parents, the children will end up getting into trouble. And then when the kids are in trouble, then the parents get in trouble. So, that's why you gotta use a lot more discernment in these times, because we're in that time where, this is the time of great mourning and death. And we tell you people that this is not a game. Okay? This is going to be Ephesians. So like I said, I'll close up with the Spirit's keep me going here. But this is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 15. And it says, see then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. Okay? You have to use discernment wherever you go and whatever it is that you do. Because you just don't know who's listening and who's watching. You just don't. As they say, CYA, cover your ass. Okay? Verse 16, redeeming the time because the days are evil. So make the best of this time to get as much knowledge, wisdom, and understanding as you can. While at the same time, just watching your own ass. Watching your back out there. Verse 17, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. It is judgment. The will of the Lord is ultimately to bring judgment upon this place. Okay? And which that is what he is doing every day. And it's only going to increase. So the closer we get to the end, the more harsh judgment is going to be passed on, and it's going to be swift. So, for this, this is what happens when you lack that fear. Because the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And you gotta be, you shouldn't be letting your kids go anywhere alone anywhere to play in the park or whatnot. No. Never let your kids out of your sight, especially in this place. Okay? And I hope this was edifying. All praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Ba'Hashem, Yahushai, Ba'Hashem Rachak Wadash. Double honors and respect to the elders and to the apostles of Great Millstone. Peace and blessing to all Akim that are preaching and teaching His word with 100% truth and sincerity. And unto the men, women, and children that are listening and learning. And unto the Ba'ath and Dabadah, the elect house of David that is scattered abroad. I give you my utmost and sincere salutations. Okay, see you on the next lesson, Lord willing. Kwame Asharala, Wa Abad Babal, Shalom, Barakatam.